Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about what is good about World of Warcraft. This will be a part of like a little mini series I'm doing on some of my favorite things about World of Warcraft. And frankly, I'm just doing this because I feel like right now on YouTube, at least on my feed, there's tons of videos about why WoW is broken or why it's dying or why it's not good anymore or why you should not be subbed anymore and all these things. And let's pull back the curtain a little bit, the biggest reason why there's so many of those videos are because they get a lot of views and they get a lot of reaction and comments and people agreeing, some people vehemently disagreeing. But that's the real reason why there's so many of them. But there's also reasons to not like the game right now or not like the game at any point in history, really. But that's not what this is about. This is about focusing on some of the good things. So in this video in particular, we're going to be focusing on the exploration of World of Warcraft and why, for me, it's so intriguing. Now, for other people, the same thing could be intriguing, but for different reasons. So this is exploration. What exploration in World of Warcraft means to me. So World of Warcraft is one of the very first games I ever really played that wasn't like, kind of like a cartoony console game. It was really the first PC game that I played outside of Myst on a very old computer that barely could run anything. And so it like introduced me to this open world and everything like that. And I was immediately hooked on the exploration factor. I think over time we become cynical. A lot of World of Warcraft players are like me. Either they're in their, I'm in my early 30s, some are in their 40s, some are in their mid to early 20s too. But a lot of people are more like on that older side of millennial, and some people are even older than that, out of like the hardcore community. And I think what happens is as we get older, we lose a bit of our sense of wonderment in that. So I loved just climbing up mountains in World of Warcraft, right? I thought that was so cool. I would climb the mountains, I would explore everything. If you found like a neat little flavor, like a sword laying next to a pond or something, you're like, oh, whose sword was this? And you have this wonderment when you first step into something, or frankly, just when you're younger. I actually see this. I actually have a newly 4 year old kid who likes to play World of Warcraft in his own way, and every little thing he sees is like so cool to him, and it's like even more wonderment because he's just a child, and than what I had, and it's like replaying that wonderment as I see him play, and it makes me realize how cool the game really still is, even though it doesn't have the same amount of exploration type stuff as it did in the initial game as it does now, 15 years, whatever it is later. But it still has so much wonder and exploration and just cool little hidden gems everywhere. For some reason, something that fascinated me so much back when I was first playing was Dun Motor. So this is that encampment in northern wetlands, and there's dark irons there, and it was like a little dark iron city. There was even like a vendor in the inn that you could even talk to. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is like the enemy forces took over this city. There's even a vendor there you can vendor with, and for some reason I don't know why. Maybe someone watching this will have the same thought as me. But I had such a wonderment about that. It's like, that's so cool. Because in my head, I'm thinking, well, they could easily make this to where the dwarves take this back someday, right? Like, I'm thinking ahead already. And I've just started the game. And they, frankly, they never have. They have done some modifications to Dun Motor since then, as far as like the quests and the mobs and stuff. But I'd like to see the dwarves take it back. I think that'd be really cool. We already see that with Stromguard, so that's we'll just go right into that. The war fronts, right? So war fronts were not a hit feature. Some people liked them. Some of the casual players liked them. A lot of the high end players didn't like them, and sometimes I'd say, unfortunately, I mostly tread in the hardcore high end people communities where I don't necessarily fit in those in my thought processes, but these war fronts were actually ways to progress the storyline forward. So now the canon in World of Warcraft is the Alliance has Stromguard. That is what is happening. And if you talk to the Exarch on the false king sitting on the throne, you will see him say perhaps there are other points that the Alliance could take back, and that's kind of cool to me. That's the same thing with exploration. You find this place, Stromgarde. It's inhabited by Defias and ogres and trolls and whatever else. And now, years later, the Alliance has taken it back, and that's kind of cool to me. There's wonderment in that. Um, my favorite thing ever in the game is, and if you'll see on Twitter once a year at least, whether it's the World of Warcraft account or like a quest designer from the team, they'll post, "What's your favorite World of Warcraft quest?" Or it'll just be like a more overarching thing, not World of Warcraft specific, but what's your favorite quest in any game that you've ever done? And I always come back to one, and it's an exploration based quest in World of Warcraft, and it was in Classic. I don't know when they took it out. I'm assuming Cataclysm would be when it was gone. But it's Sully Blue. So we're going back to Dunmotor here. This is a very Dunmotor heavy video. And when you're crossing Thandal Span on the bridge, if you were to jump off the right side bridge, I believe it was the right side bridge, and go straight down underwater, and maybe it was the left side bridge. I don't know which side it was. But you go straight down, and you'll see a catapult that has fallen off the bridge. And it's crushed a poor dwarf. And next to this dwarf, you could click on a little note, and it wasn't, this is back in the day, so there was an exclamation point over it. It wasn't highlighted, but you could click on a little note, and this little note was a love letter to his wife before he passed away. And you pick up this note, and it gives you a quest, and you could take this quest back to Ironforge and give it to Sarah Blue, his wife. And it starts a whole quest line where you meet up with King Magni. He sends you to get this special alteric stone to make a statue, and they erect a statue of Sully Blue to remember him by. And this was the coolest thing to me ever. I'm still in wonderment now. And to be fair, these types of things aren't in the game as much. They put little crumbs of these in, but not as much. And I think the game would be better served if they added more to it. But this is phenomenal to me. This is something that you just happen to come upon. You have to be exploring underwater and find this note. And this note gives you a really cool quest line. Now, like I said, this is about why WoW is still good, right? So this isn't in the game. But there are really cool things in the game. Now, they go out of their way to put these huge secrets in the game. If you follow my channel, you'll see that every time that there's a new big secret, that I'm going to post a guide about it. Because I'm into it. I'm following along with the secret finding community. I'm trying to use my own noggin to come up with solutions to the secrets, and I've been more successful in ideas than others, but whether it's the Jennifer pet, its most recent big one, whether it was Hive Mind, whether it was the Waste of Time, which was the coolest transmog belt in the game, and they put these things in the game which kind of harken back to that exploration thing, stuff that's extra in the game that you have to find and find out. Now, of course, if you're following it's really cool when you're in the moment. Most people are going to do this by following a guide, but that's still really cool. It's still really cool to go through and play something that's totally extra, at least for me, for people who like exploration, people who like the wonderment. It's cool to be like, oh my gosh, they added this thing. I would have never even known this was here, right? I would never know this was here. It's completely just there for those who want to find it, to those who seek it. And they add these secrets to the game now, whether it's Cosmoth the Hungering and Legion, to get the Fathom Dweller mount. All these cool things. And if you're interested in any of those secrets, check it out. But all this really cool stuff they still add to the game. The most recent one would be the Bound Shadehound, which, if that's a mount that you get for the Maw. This mount, unfortunately, they missed the mark, and they made the acquisition of materials take way too long that I don't think a lot of people are going to want to do it. But even if you don't want to do it, if you go watch my guide on it, you'll still probably think that some of the exploration, the seeking factor of it is pretty cool. You can actually figure this out by the clues itself in the secret. You don't have to follow a guide to do it. They do give you pretty obvious clues on what to do. And again, it'd be stuff where you say, I have no idea this is in the game. Like, you don't, if you're watching this and you don't have the Bound Shadehound or you haven't looked into it, you have no idea that there is a forge on top of, in the Maw. If you go down to Perdition Hold, all the way to the southwest, you can climb all the way to the top of that building. You might know the area. If you do the daily quests there, you have to like smash pots and kill elites while you have like this little soul thing, and it gets bigger and bigger. Then you go downstairs and fight a boss. Well, instead of going down, you can actually climb up that building to the very top, and there is a forge on that building, and this is what you use to help make your Bound Shadehound mount. And so you would never even know that's there, and that part of it is really cool. They still do this stuff, like I said, it's in the secrets, it's in these side things, the B mount. They still have this stuff, and it's really cool. It's different than the old way, and I do wish they would go back a little bit to the old way, but it's still really cool, and I have to give them credit for it. It makes me still love the game to this day, even the smallest things that again, as we get older, we don't have the same wonderment that we had when we were younger. When we first get a game, whatever the same wonderment you might have when you first get a big open world game. But so I haven't done this in a long time, and occasionally I find myself doing it. But I was actually just looking for something silly. It's not a secret per se. I was just wondering if I could find something in game, and I couldn't, by the way. But I was walking around. And a lot of times, the best way to look is in first person mode, so you're zoomed in on everything when you're searching. And I'm walking around, and I'm just like, wow, when did they change this? When did they change this? And there's cool little visual things everywhere. There's a thing in Stormwind. If you go where Varian is his like memorial is set up. If you go, I believe, towards the water and to the left from looking at the statue, you can find like a little horde encampment there. This is really cool. It's been in the game for a while. People actually don't know what it's for, but you'll see some grain with the horde symbol on it, a sword and shield, and there's a note you can click on. And the note just says that this guy's going to avenge his father. He snuck in right under the Alliance nose. He's going to avenge his father. Who knows what that is? Nobody actually knows. I've looked into it. I mean, somebody knows. Whoever put it in knows. And this is really cool. And there's these things all over the game if you look for them. And again, this is on the forefront of my mind. The reason why this is the first video on why World of Warcraft is so cool is because I was playing with my kid, like I said, and he thinks everything is so cool. He thinks it's so cool that not only are there pirates on the beach, but we can swim out to water. There's a boat there, and then there's more pirates on the boat. That just makes sense to him because he's a kid, right? Of course there's pirates on the boat, but like, in some of the simpler games that are made for 4-year-olds, that might not be the case. Maybe you can't actually swim out to the water. Maybe it's just like a backdrop or something, or swim out to the pirate ship. So yeah, so when you look at it that way through the wonderment of a child's eyes, right, an innocent person's eyes, it really can open up your own eyes, and as an old fogey like me, and be like, wow, that's really really cool. And yeah, so this is just the first video. I have other things that to keep me loving the game to this day, and I'm just gonna share those with people because I think there's a ton of negative stuff out there. And that's fine. There's negative stuff to be said about the game. This is way too long for content patches and stuff like that between, even though they're dealing with COVID and stuff and having to work from home. There's all kinds of things that you can complain about. No doubt. I'm not trying to whitewash anything. I am just trying to point out some of the positives in a world that can be quite negative. So, as always, I do ask you to subscribe to the channel because it helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody have a good one.